I'm Heather, and I chose an article on how two of the leaders from the anti vax, I guess you would say movement, movement, went on national news to talk about how they didn't believe that people should get the vaccine and say their opinion on it. But while they were on camera and live, they went into how uh, they they went back into the election fraud. So that's since passed. So I feel like it equates a lot to our reading. I chose to talk about chapter 8 to make my three correlations, but I thought I might as well just go ahead and talk about some things in chapter 7. So page 193 says that leadership is human communication, which modifies the attitudes and behaviors of others in order to meet shared group goals and needs. In there, they talk about how they're part of the MAGA group, and they were in talking about Fauci and stuff, and how you shouldn't believe a word he said, and then they got into the election fraud. So I'm going to say that was part of moving the shared group goals, because they weren't on there to talk about that. And they were like, we're just going to push this a little bit too. Again, I'm independent, whatever you believe, but I'm just making some associations from our chapter. And it is CNN, so I know that they're far left, but again, it relates well to our reading this week. And then another thing that chapter said, it said this: from this perspective, leadership is less about simply getting goals accomplished and more about influencing the attitudes and behaviors necessary to meet the organization's goals and needs. So MAGA is predominantly anti-vax, predominantly, can't rely on our election system, and everyone's opinion that I have been able to correlate that with. I hate to generalize. So I would say that, they went on there trying to speak about one thing, and instead they wanted to use that to meet the goals of the MAGA organization's other needs, I suppose you'd say. So I will move on to talking about, we'll go into ethnocentrism, and it's when somebody believes that their culture is better than other cultures. They believe their culture is to be the most natural, page 251. So I would say, being a part of a huge group, like I feel like a lot of the left is pointing a lot of fingers, the right is, saying, Trumpers or libtards or whatever, and it's, everyone thinks that their opinion is right. So, in their opinion on vaccines and the election, we have seen that, I feel like. Stereotypes or generalizations that people tend to create based on social classifications. Again, that's page 251. Right, left, I feel like people, I suppose that I'm stereotyping when I say, most MAGA people are anti-vax and whatever, think the election is fraudulent. I don't know that, but I think you can see the correlation there a little bit. Saying that everybody from that group you shouldn't trust. Organizational members, interactions become implanted in organizational culture, image, identity, and culture are all interrelated and together, create assumptions that mold everyday things that occur. So just, against Fauci, I guess that's 237. And then page 237, talks about how an organization's identity can condition its members to hone in on certain problems and disregard others. I feel like it's like, they're obsessed about the election still, and so they're like trying to think of a good way to make that connection. Yeah, so just honing in on the vaccine and how it doesn't work versus maybe looking at other science too and being a little objective. I think that that's a good way you could relate it. And then page 240 actually also talks about how identification can inevitably make you feel as if you are psychologically intertwined with the fate of the group. maybe that's why people are holding on to the election fraud, because I mean, people being a part of a group that haven't maybe been a part of a big group like that, like MAGA, they can identify, it makes them feel, you know, a part of something. So I could see people holding on to it for that reason, you know. I take on how I see the ethical issue through the lens of a concept psych selected. I don't know. I think it's unethical. I want to say that people genuinely believe what they're saying and they're not trying to, you know, give people false information that they don't really know. But, I mean, I don't think a lot of people are doing it on purpose. I think that they genuinely believe it. I think that people probably generally believe it, but there's a lot of people listening that, I don't know, might need to hear different information. I don't know. That's my take on it. Thanks.